It was a chilly autumn evening when I first heard the stories about the creature lurking near our village. My name is Clara, and I lived a simple life with my parents and younger brother, Jake. The leaves crunched under our feet as we walked to school, but that day, the air felt different, heavy with whispers and fears. After classes ended, I sat with my friends, and one of them, Sarah, began to share a tale she had heard from her uncle. According to her, late at night, a large, shadowy figure had been spotted moving between the trees at the edge of the dark forest. The villagers had seen strange, glowing eyes watching them from a distance. Some claimed to have heard a low growl echo through the night. As Sarah spoke, I shivered, half in fear and half in excitement. Jake scoffed at the idea, insisting it was just an old wives' tale meant to scare kids like us. But as I lay in bed that night, I couldn't shake off the feeling that something was indeed out there. The wind howled, rattling the window panes, and every rustle outside made my heart race. I pulled the blanket over my head, reminding myself it was all just a story. The days turned into weeks, and the creature became the talk of the village. Children dared each other to venture near the forest, but I was too scared. One evening, curiosity got the better of me. I decided to join Jake and a few friends on a dare to see how close we could get to the woods. We moved forward. The trees loomed overhead, their branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. As we walked deeper into the forest, the sounds of crickets faded, replaced by an eerie silence. Suddenly, Jake shouted for us to stop. There, illuminated by our flashlight beams, were large footprints in the mud too large to be human. My heart thudded in my chest as we all exchanged frightened glances. We turned to leave when I felt something cold air brushing against my neck, as if someone, or something, was watching us. I shuddered and insisted we go home, but Jake wanted to investigate further. The others reluctantly agreed, and I felt pressure building in my chest. A chill ran down my spine, but I couldn't back out now. We crept forward, the path narrowing and the trees growing thicker. Then we heard it. A low growling sound, deep and rumbling, vibrating through the ground. Our flashlights flickered, and in that moment of darkness, a pair of eyes glowed, a head a sickly yellow that pierced through the night. Fear gripped me as I realized we weren't alone. Jake was the first to break and run, and I followed without thinking. We dashed through the trees, branches slapping against us like angry hands. I could hear the growling getting closer, mixed with heavy footsteps that echoed in the night. The others were screaming, our panic reflected in each other's eyes as we burst out of the forest. Our village lights shining like beacons. We didn't stop until we reached the safety of the busy street, panting and gasping for breath. The next day, I found myself constantly glancing at the edge of the forest, the glowing eyes haunting my thoughts. I told my parents what happened, but they laughed it off as kids' imaginations running wild. Yet, I knew what I saw, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the creature was still out there, watching, waiting. Days turned into weeks again, and the stories grew darker. Villagers claimed livestock had gone missing. Shadows flitted along the edges of the village, and some even spoke of their dreams being haunted by the creature. I decided I had to find the truth, to prove to everyone that what we saw was real. I gathered a few brave friends, including Jake, whose fear had turned to determination, and we planned to return to the forest. This time, we would prepare. We equipped ourselves with more powerful flashlights and even brought some snacks, thinking maybe we could outsmart whatever was out there. As dusk fell, we gathered at the edge of the forest once again, the sun sinking below the horizon, casting long shadows. With shaky breath, we stepped into the darkness. We walked deeper and deeper, and a creeping sense of dread loomed over us. Just as we reached the area where we had spotted the creature before, out of nowhere, a piercing screech ripped through the night. It was a sound unlike anything I had ever heard, making my blood run cold. We froze, fear rooting us in place. Suddenly, the peaceful forest felt like a trap, shadows swirling ominously around us. Then, from the corner of my eye, I saw movement. A large, hulking figure emerged from the darkness, a grotesque silhouette with elongated limbs and sharp claws. Its glowing eyes locked onto us. It was then I realized that this wasn't just a creature of nightmares. All our fears had been real, and now it would feast on our terror. I felt the coldness take over my body as the creature took a step forward, revealing its jagged teeth, each one sharper than the last. We screamed and ran in panic, but all around, the forest twisted, the trees closing in on us. The growling echoed in my ears, and just as I thought we would be caught, we stumbled upon a clearing, moonlight spilling onto the ground. But the creature followed us, its wicked grin expanding as it sensed our fear. As it lunged, we scattered into the underbrush, hiding behind trees, desperately trying to catch our breath. In that moment of sheer terror, I realized something, a small, flickering light barely illuminating the dark. It was my flashlight, the beam flickering as I turned it toward the beast. For a split second, it hesitated, moments feeling like years. I felt adrenaline surge through me. With a surge of courage, I yelled, "Run!" And we bolted once more. A loud crash behind us echoed as branches snapped, but we didn't stop until we found ourselves back in the safety of our village, panting and trembling. We never ventured back into the woods again, and the story of the creature hung over our heads like a dark cloud. From then on, I looked out my window every night, expecting to see those ghastly glowing eyes. But sometimes, just sometimes, I thought I heard that familiar low growl echoing in the wind, a reminder of the fear that still haunted our little village.